G'day folks, welcome to this introductory scenario 1, Day of Days. This takes place over the course of a whole day from the night turn on the 5th of June through to the night turn on the 6th of June. And it focuses on the 6th Airborne Division's drops near the Orne River. Let's see how it plays out. Well, here is this setup for intermediate scenario number 1, Day of Days. This is the night of the 5th of June 1944. It's a big map, there's a lot of space, so let me kind of zoom into where most of the activity is and where I guess most of the action will happen. So what do we have here? We've got all these landing zones where the various para brigades will land. We've got the 5th para brigade kind of landing mainly in this drop zone. We have the 6th, the Airborne Landing Brigade landing here between Pegasus and Hawser bridges. Then we have the 3rd Para Brigade spread some down here in drop zone K and some up the top here in drop zone V. Now I haven't done the drops yet, this is just the kind of initial setup. They're placed here and then I kind of roll for drops in just a moment. And from those points they spread out towards their various objectives. Now I've marked these in red for the para brigades and in yellow for the commandos who'll come on later. So the para have to wipe out Merville Battery up here, obviously capture Pegasus and Hawser bridges, and then destroy the 5 named bridges over the Dives River. So how are they going to do this? Well, I'm hoping that airborne landing should be able to wipe out those defenders on Pegasus Bridge in the first activation. They're landing in column and they'll just charge in. They've got very good troop quality rating and the defenders have a -2 troop quality rating. So the defenders will basically need to pass their check on a 0 out of 10. So assuming they launch their attack okay, that should be successful. The 8th Para Battalion are going to sort of move up here towards this northernmost bridge. They'll be joined, well, there's a lot to think about. What to do with the 5th Brigade. They can either move straight to Merville Battery. There aren't many defenders in this area, but keep in mind that more German reinforcements will be arriving very quickly from about the 9 AM turn on the 6th of June, and they arrive from mainly the western and southern parts of this map. So they really need to rush. I think I can land one of these in column. So they might try and quickly get up the road, get to some of those bridges early on. Yeah, it's really, I mean, again, this is it's an intermediate scenario, but it's the first para drop that I've done in the Greatest Day. So I'm unfamiliar with the rules. I'm not sure what type of losses or stragglers I'll have to deal with. I'm not sure what strength these para companies are going to be in and how able they're going to be to move on their objectives. I guess hope for the best and see how things goes. I still don't know really what I'm going to do with 5th Para Brigade here. Certainly some of them are going to move north. I think I might move up these 2 roads. I might keep the 12th Battalion, it's this stack here, just kind of in reserve here. Capture Hurivu, this is their rally point. Actually, it's 13 Para Rallies point. I might change that around. Set this for 12 and that for 13. So yeah, 12 will, I guess, protect these roads because they're not only capturing the objectives, they're holding off these German reinforcements. So they've got to watch these roads there are some fast-moving tracked German reinforcements coming on from that hard-hitting 21st Panzer Division. And yes, need to be careful we protect these bridges, which also means crossing over and protecting these main roads. This is the reinforcement arrival point for that 21st Division. It's a very interesting map, lots to think about. Let's see how it unfolds. Okay, so this is the situation at the end of the 7 AM turn. We've gone through the night turn, the landings, and the first turn of the 6th of June, the 7 AM turn, and this is the situation at the end of the turn. So you can see Pegasus Bridge being held with an improved position here, the engineers near Horsa Bridge with an improved position. There's an interesting scenario rule here. The Germans cannot move within 2 hexes of drop zone, landing zone W up here. So Kampfgruppe Roche over here, which comes on the board just here, has to kind of halt outside the kind of Pegasus Bridge and fire upon the area because of these rules. I mean, Pegasus Bridge, this hex here, is within 2 hexes, so technically they can't even assault, well, they can't even move into it. So they're just sitting there firing away, not having much effect with this improved position. I think they're in a village and a good defensive modifier. What's been happening? The 5th para landing went pretty badly. They had a lot of steps lost. So they've been kind of gathering in stragglers and not moving too far. Basically just trying to attack the German units that begin in this area. They spent 2 turns doing that and are not having much success. They're slowly beginning to move sort of north towards Melville Battery. Elsewhere, the 3rd Para Brigade had a lot of success with their landings. It was a tale of 2 different landings. 3rd Para was very successful. They rolled very well and were able to get moving very quickly. They suffered down here in the south. 9th Para, sorry, this is 8th Para, suffered some step losses, but because of their close proximity, relatively close proximity to these bridges, they decided to move out with their step losses without waiting for all their stragglers. So they've been rushing to the bridges, and some of the other, I think it's the 9th Para reinforcements, I guess, from the northern drop zone have moved down along this road to assist. And this has been pretty good. The Germans moved in, they occupied Troan, built an improved position. Kampfgruppe Luck has rushed onto the map and from Colembes off on the left and is threatening this area. And so this movement by 9th Para down here has really helped, and in fact this unit here slipped across the fields without getting into the range of those Germans infantry in that improved position. Way up in the north, you may be able to see it, we have one blown bridge, a very lucky roll from one of the para companies. Now the 6th Airborne Division paras kind of have inbuilt engineers. They can destroy bridges, a 2-step unit on a 3 or less. I think it's a 1-step, it might be on a 2 or less. And this 1-step unit rolled a 2 or less. I took an attempt and it was successful. They occupy this 2nd bridge over here, and they're in a good position, holding the key route through to the 3rd, 4th and 5th bridges. So things looking good for 3rd Para Brigade's objectives. They did send some troops up here to the Merville Battery, but they're now out of command, not having much success. Some naval fire, because the naval chip was drawn, of course, and it's kind of placed barrage markers on the coastal batteries with minimal effect. What else is happening? So yes, that's the end of the 7 AM turn. It's been a slow start for, as I said, the 5th Para Brigade. The Oxen Bucks holding their position across the bridges, whilst 3rd Para rushes towards those eastern bridges to destroy them. Okay, so it's now the end of the 1100 turn. So I've ran through the 0900 turn and the 1100 turns in a row, and yeah, this is the situation. So things are looking very good for the third para out on the right. They have blown the first bridge. The second bridge is wide to blow. They've blown the third bridge. The fourth bridge is wide to go with engineers here. And the fifth bridge has been destroyed. Engineers moved in behind to blow the bridge from the other side while this ninth para company held the Germans off from the southwest side. It was a nice little movement here. They are really exposed, but thus far, well, they've suffered a step loss, but that's about it. Kampfgruppe Look has really been trying to get to these bridges, and their poor command rating and command roles has really hampered them because it's been hard to get their formation activation chip into the cup, and so we're basically trying to spend command points, what few we have, to move them around with the occasional direct command on some of these units, but so restricted in what they can do. They now have a couple of command points, so they might get a formation activation maybe in this coming turn. But that's been their main struggle, is this lack of command points to actually be able to do anything. You can see the fight on this paratroop company, which is holding this hedgerow here. And some reinforcements have arrived. I think this is more reinforcements coming up from the south. But it's just been so slow whilst the Allies have blocked the bridges, occupied key terrain, and blown up those bridges. Now, further to the north, Merville Battery finally fell in a very, very lucky series of dice rolls. Huge defensive modifier up there. I think it's like a -5 cumulative. So the Allies basically need a 0 to hit. And I think they scored 2 consecutive zeros, or a 0 and then a 1, to finally build up those cohesion hits. It's only a 1-step unit, so it was finally eliminated. And, well, the story of the 5th Power Brigade, which landed about here, has been a bit sad. They spent most of the past few turns recovering their stragglers, slowly moving north, facing some opposition from the Germans under this barrage marker, but not doing a great deal. In fact, they've been supported from the 3rd Power Brigade, I mentioned earlier, from around this area here. Over here, the Ox and Bucks continue to hold their position, the engineers digging in on the east side of the bank near Horsa Bridge. The commandos have just arrived. They're in column driving up the road, stopping just short of opportunity fire from these units. To deal with this, there's only one German unit here, but it's quite powerful. So the 5th Power Brigade are going to bring one of their mortar units down to this little point here between Pegasus and Horsa bridges and try to fire upon and block the line of sight of that unit. Having said that, we do now have some strong 21st Panzer Division reinforcements arriving this turn. Some big hitting, I think they're Panther tanks. So this is going to really change the situation. I haven't checked where they arrive, but they are independent black striped units. They can do a lot of damage. I've tried to bring some of these rear guards out down south to block the roads. They won't be able to hold out for long. And I think 6th Para may have to really start turning around and protecting their kind of landing zone area down here, start holding and digging in and doing more to build some minefields. Also bringing the engineers back across. Now that those bridges are all but destroyed, they can start helping out 6th Para a bit more and establishing a stronger defensive position. Okay, so we're about to head into the 1 p.m. turn. Okay, it's the end of another 2 turns. It's we've just reached the end of the 1500 turn, so we've gone through the 1300, 1500 now. And well, the Allies have destroyed those 5 bridges out on the right. That was their 6th Division's tertiary objective complete. And with that done, Kampfgruppe Look, who activated pretty early, shifted their attention out to the west. So you can see they've withdrawn their forces from around Tron and are now trying to focus their attention on Horsa Bridge area over here, recapturing this bridge, this area. We saw the Stilg reinforcements come on quite late. You can see them under these column counters. That was the second last ship drawn, so they couldn't do too much in this turn. These 6th Airborne anti-tank guns are causing a lot of damage. They're set up, there's one here with a range of 3 and one here with a range of 5. So overlapping sort of fields of fire, protecting each other and doing a lot of damage to the Germans as they press forward. The 6th Airborne have set up in pretty good defensive terrain. They've picked their kind of towns and villages and wooded hexes. They have, again, these AT guns, their mortars, and are able to, as you can see, sort of blind the place barrage markers and blind the Germans as they advance. They're also in sort of a lot of clear terrain out here in front of these AT guns, and yeah, they're managing to inflict quite a lot of damage. I'll just show you the casualty list up the top there. A lot of German units in this pile here, at least more than the Allies. So now that it's done, we have the 5th Para Brigade, who were advancing towards Merville Battery. That's been destroyed earlier, as I mentioned. They're now shifting back to the south, and they're kind of forming a line to protect Horsa bridges. All the while, you can see these commandos coming through. I mean, their objectives are already secure, 1, 2, 3, but they'll push through to the town, the coast there, Merville, Frankville, Plage. This element of the 27th Armoured arrived and has done sweet bugger all. Had a few shots, I've sent a few command points trying to eliminate this one-step German unit here, but there's not even a cohesion hit on these guys. They're being barraged, of course, but that's about it. These are powerful 6 troop quality rating, firepower of 7, and they keep missing everything. So that's happening out there. This is where the focus is going to be, I think, for the next few turns. This is where Kampfgruppe Look and the independent units are all focusing their attention. So we're going to really focus on this area and see what happens. I should mention there are some Germans holding back key routes from Traun, making sure that it's not too easy for the 3rd Para, which still have some companies out on the right. At the same time, these are reduced elements. These are the guys that rushed ahead, who didn't wait for the stragglers, so they're down to 1 step. And they're not overly keen to advance out in the open. There are still some dangerous German units with decent ranges that out here. Okay, so we're about to head into the 1700 turn. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've played through the 1700 and 1900 turns. This is the situation at the end of the 1900 turn. And the German counterattack is in full swing. Their armour is on the board, and Kampfgruppe Look is hitting so hard against these Allied positions. And suddenly the balance of casualties is swinging against the Allies. I mentioned earlier how these airborne anti-tank guns were so effective. Well, German armour have really targeted those AT guns. First of all, placing a few barrage markers on their positions and then just targeting those positions with everything they had, focusing entirely on those AT guns. They are counted as considered unarmoured targets, and they are fairly easily wiped out with these dual-purpose guns. So 2 of those guns have gone. There's only 1 left under this barrage marker. Engineers at work. There it is with a cohesion hit and a step loss. So very nearly gone. They have been hitting back as much as they can, where they can. But basically the Allies are now in trouble. The tables have turned, and this is a fascinating scenario. This is pretty much all the Germans have on the map. Let me just zoom out and show you the situation on the map. It's just Kampfgruppe Look pretty much in this tiny little area. not even a dozen units in here, but they are so powerful. Pretty good troop quality ratings among many of these units. Great firepower ratings, dual purpose, some pretty good armor on some of these. The Stugs don't have good armor, they're on 0, so they're quite vulnerable, but with a range of 4, they can just stand back and shoot. The Allies now, the 6th Airborne Division, are trying to occupy these hedgerows and wooded terrain. And as you can see with that men at work, try to build some improved positions and entrenchments. We have engineers here. Basically, the Allies haven't been quick enough in building these improved positions because the engineers kind of shifted left and right. We had mostly the engineers out towards the bridges in the east. They've tried to rush back to build improved positions around Horsa Bridge, but that was interrupted. So the engineers here, by the arrival of the commencement of this German counterattack. The engineers have been interrupted mid-drive towards the beach. They're now in the opportunity range of fire of all these units. And the Allies are running out of opportunities to place barrage markers. The Germans have really spread themselves out, so every time any of these Allied units move, they are fired upon, or there's this opportunity for opportunity fire. And with pretty decent troop quality ratings, it's happening more often than not. These are pretty vulnerable units, -1 sort of modifier, armor modifier, defense rating on most of them, but a lot of open terrain as well in this area. So there's wooded terrain here. They're also moving in column, so it ends up being sort of a +1. They're in trouble. 27th Armoured Detachment out here, out on the left, finally managed to eliminate that Kampfgruppe Roche unit, but they only just did it then. They haven't had an opportunity to move on forward yet. I'm very worried. This is about the Allied position here. The Germans are very close. There are still 2 turns left. There is the 2100 turn and then the night turn. So it's going to be a close run to the finish. Okay, well here's the situation at the end of the scenario. Those last 2 turns happened pretty quick as all the activity was focused around this area just outside Horsa Bridge. As you can see, a lot of barrage markers from both sides really, trying to blind the opponent's ranged units to prevent them firing on one's own units as they move. So you can see 27th Armoured under here. This is how close the Germans came to recapturing Horsa Bridge. They are just outside, just stopped short. In fact, there's that armoured unit there, and then there's also the infantry which captured this hex here. So they are so close to Horsa. You can see this big stack here. This is where we have that big 27th Armoured. They moved in to defend the space. There are also surviving engineers right down the bottom of that stack. Some commandos in the hex who were sort of caught up moving through. The commandos were diverted. They were moving north. A few of them were held back to try and defend this area. Some got eliminated here. It was a very close fight in the end over those final 2 turns. So what happened was Kampfgruppe continued to press forward. They've eliminated that last artillery piece. You can see they got right adjacent to it here, and really focusing their mortar fire on this hex, getting some pretty good hits on it. Again, focusing on that AT gun. It was eventually destroyed, but the Allies countered pretty well. As soon as a lot of these units got in close range, well, first of all, brought all the mortar units within range. The commandos finally got their mortars up into range. You can see these commando mortar units. They don't have great fire ratings, but they scored a few lucky hits over those. Oh, actually, they didn't get 2 activations, but I'm sure they managed to get some hits. Plus, blinding the Germans with barrage markers stopped the Germans doing a lot. And somehow, over these last 2 turns, the Allies managed to eliminate 2 of those. I think there were 2 Stug units there. There was also, this unit was eliminated. They were out on the right side somewhere. What else? 3 Stug units eliminated on those final 2 turns in this kind of vicinity somehow. I mean, these are only sort of, they only have a range of 1. I think it was just firepower from the mortars, and when they moved adjacent to the infantry, oh yeah, there's some sort of para company, a strong para company under here, which has a good firepower rating. Oh no, 3, but it's a purple rating, light mortars, which isn't great against... Anyway, somehow the Allies managed to inflict these hits on these Stug units. They don't have great armour. Let me just bring one back to show you. 0 armour rating. And they slowly built up these cohesion hits. Well, when I say slowly, they quite rapidly built up these cohesion hits over those last 2 turns. In the final turn, basically the Germans, 21st Panzer Division, threw everything at this area. They assaulted, the infantry assaulted here, eliminated the engineers and commandos. They tried to attack here and just didn't have the activations, actually. 21st Panzer ran out of activations. They couldn't, silly administrative error, they couldn't put Kampfgruppe look formation activation in the cup on that final turn. And then they ran out of command points, so they couldn't do a lot. They couldn't follow through their attacks. This company still holds Ranville. They did pretty well to defend. They're only in a village, so it's only like a -2 defense modifier. The commandos had to halt their advance. You can see, if I just zoom up a little bit, you can see some of them from I think 6th, might be battalion, have moved up to the beach, but the rest had to stop because as they were moving through here, there was opportunity fire from all these German units. So they basically halted on the west side near Pegasus Bridge. Yes, so it is... The Allies have basically achieved all their objectives. The commandos have held the objectives with the help of the para much earlier. All those 5 bridges have been destroyed. Merville Battery was destroyed early in the scenario. It's a tough one for the Germans. They have, in hindsight, maybe I should have brought Kampfgruppe look out here. I mean, they attempted to stop those bridges over in the east being captured. Maybe they should have focused on Horsa Bridge instead. Called it a mistake. They gambled out there and failed. This would have been probably much easier to threaten and would have forced 6 para to hold in this area and help the Ox and Bucks. So this is out of the 7-8 scenarios I've played, this is the first time the Allies have won. Close. I think there's a lot of VPs for stopping the Allies capturing Horsa Bridge. I think the Allies probably still would have won because they've secured all their other objectives. If I look through, so certainly 15 victory points for controlling Pegasus. Merville Battery's 10. I think the bridges are 5. The Marines would score another heap of victory points. 7/16 have failed to secure any of their objectives. So it's really only the plus 15. It would have been an Allied victory anyway, but it would have been a nice coup had the 21st Panzer re-secured Horsa Bridge. As you can see, it's held up movement across that bridge. Just their close proximity to that bridge has held up any movement. Because Allied units have to move through what I think is a clear space. I think Horsa Bridge is clear terrain. It is. And they'll be in column with a bridge hex. So it's actually +2, I think, for the bridge as well. So it's a +4 modifier to units that move through here. Very dangerous with these direct dual purpose units firing in this area. Again, so this is a clear hex, so a lot of these units have clear line of sight with their ranges of 4 to Horsa Bridge. Anything but a 9. So got a 8 out of 10 chance of hitting any unit that moves through here on that very devastating dual purpose row of the fire table. Look, I really like this scenario. I think it's my favourite thus far. Certainly one, if I'm returning to these scenarios, this is the one I'd play again as priority. Lots of tactical considerations here. A lot of things I would do differently next time. I would probably keep the 6th... is it 6th para? Sorry. The 5th para. the green guys. I'd probably keep them in this area. I should mention too, the third drop was disastrous. There was drop zone N and drop zone W out here. I rolled horrifically. This is the only unit that survived because they rolled, I think, a 1 for their landing. And with modifiers at the time, it bumped them up to a step loss. Everything else was basically eliminated. I made the mistake of putting all my rearguard units out early, or a lot of them out early. And so, yeah, just made the choice to eliminate those units. When these dropped units are eliminated, they go into the straggler box, and if there are straggler points left over, they can re-enter play. But as it was the second last turn anyway, and as it is, the Germans occupy 1 or 2 of the rally points. I didn't worry about it. So yeah, a very, very tense finish to this quite long scenario. That is Intermediate Scenario 1, Day of Days, focusing on the 6th Airborne Division's drop, their support by the 27th Armoured and the commandos coming out from the west. I hope you've enjoyed it.